following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello and welcome to Weighted Donuts. I'm Wayne Unger. Today we have returning once again. It's almost like we're dating. We have Dan Szymborski of Fangraphs. Dan, welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Wayne?
I'm doing good. So, I know Hall of Fame results come in tomorrow, but I feel as though that's been like beaten to death. I want to talk about who's winning the winter. Okay, so NL East has been very interesting. I guess the biggest splash is in the NL East so far has probably either been the Nationals signing Patrick Corbin or the Mets acquiring Cano and Edwin Diaz. But there's been a lot of other little moves made, and also Atlanta has not really made any moves. So do you think...
Well, don't forget Josh Donaldson.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot Josh Donaldson. That's true.
And that's an excellent move. 1 year, $23 million. That's a terrific move. So you can't.
You're right.
Forget
you know
about
what? I did forget that. But okay. Do you think the Braves played? Well, I'm assuming the Braves exceeded their Zips projection last year. Would that be correct?
They did. Zips, was one of the more optimistic on the Braves. Had them around 500, and I talked about the Braves possibly being a team that could break out. I did that a lot last winter. But the median prediction was under 90 wins, so they did exceed that.
Okay. Now, do you think that now they lost Anibal Sanchez? Even though, he didn't play, he was hurt, but he was certainly a welcome surprise for them. They lost Sanchez. They added Donaldson. Do you think they're in the same place? Do you think that they're treading dangerously if they don't add maybe a little depth to their bullpen?
They could definitely use another reliever or two, and of course, there's still a lot of players left out on the market, so they still very well could. I think the Braves have generally kind of stayed the course because it's a team with a very strong farm system, and if needs arise during the season, they do actually have quite a lot of assets that they can flip for something. Now they lost Sanchez, of course, but his ERA was under 3 last year. For all intents and purposes, even if he returned, you still don't get Sanchez in 2018. And they do get a whole season of Acuna. He played like 110 games in 2018. So they can get, 30, 40 more games out of him, which is a pretty big deal because he's pretty good.
Okay, but they also lost the consistency of Nick Markakis.
Yeah, but Markakis had a pretty bad second half. I think that the team runs through Freeman and Acuna and Albies and whatever they do, and I think Albies can have a breakout of his own this year. I think there's a little room in that on-base percentage to grow from him, I think. I think they're about where they are last year. I think the NL East is going to be a lot of fun because I think really there are 4 teams that are kind of in the same tier. And, of course, the 5th team is the Marlins, as everybody listening to this has already surmised. So it should be one of the more fun divisions this year.
Okay, so now, am I also correct in assuming that the Nationals, were below Zips' expectations last year?
Yeah, Zips had them as vulnerable, but thought they could hang on one more year. They had some things not quite work out. After Scherzer, the rotation wasn't great. Strasburg didn't have a great year, and he didn't even have a full year. Of course, Soto was terrific, better than expected, and quicker than expected. But they were under their projections last year, which tend to be, depending on the assumptions, somewhere between 87 and 91 wins, without making any crazy assumptions one way or the other. I think that they're actually going to have a better year simply because they were a better team than an 82-win team last year, even losing Harper. I mean, their Pythag was up in the low 90s, if memory recalls. I can look that up if we have to, but I think that it's still a good team. It's just not a favorite anymore. They're just not a favorite.
So all right. So you don't think, even with losing Harper, you don't think the additions they made put them back at the top of that division?
No, they're too close to the rest of the division for that to be a case anymore. It was one thing when all the other teams looked like they were in the low 80s, but now you can make a pretty good mid to upper 90s case for the Braves, the Mets, and probably the Phillies when the offseason's over. I still think they'll end up with either Machado or Harper on the team. And the thing about Harper is he's a phenomenally talented player, but he's also a player who only really has one MVP-type season in his career. Losing 2018 Trout isn't really like losing Mike Trout would be, or like losing Manny Machado would be. Harper, I mean, he's very young and he's still very, you want to sign a player like him, but people kind of overrate just how dependable he is. He's only had that one crazy season, in 2015. And there could very well be more of those in there, but it is speculative and there is risk involved.
And what was your opinion of the Mets acquiring Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz?
I thought that was a solid addition for them. I think the problem with the Mets is they've made a lot of moves that are good in isolation, but they don't all really fit together. You have Cano on the team, and you have Jed Lowry, and you already had Jeff McNeil, and this kind of shuffles out Jeff McNeil a little. I know that they want to give him some playing time in the outfield, but the question is that the best use of resources if you're using a guy who can play second base as a left fielder? It seems not the most efficient use of resources. And then you kind of ask, are they really going to give Todd Frazier a start at first? Because one of the reasons you'd like Todd Frazier is he can field defensively at third, even when he's not hitting. But at first base, it's like, man, why don't you just have Peter Alonso up at this point? And there's no obvious role for J.D. Davis. Keon Broxton and Juan Lagares are kind of the same player in a way. They've made better moves than actually making kind of a cohesive roster. But there's a lot more to shake out, so maybe we'll see a little more clarity there.
Right. And I don't, and the Mets have not had a good history of converting infielders to outfielders.
Or catchers to outfielders. Memories of Huntley.
Yes. And then, and I also will go back to Keith Miller, Howard Johnson, Juan Samuel. So, yes. But it certainly has...
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought Howard Johnson owned the Howard Johnson hotels and restaurants. I thought that was his company.
Well, and when you found out he didn't, were you like, was that like, what was worse, learning that or learning that Santa Claus wasn't real?
Oh, I never believed in Santa Claus. Kids in kindergarten in my school, they learned a lot of facts of life before they were ready from me because I was kind of a loudmouth jerk as a little kid. Yeah.
You were the spoiler. So.
Yeah, I was a spoiler. I am the one who told kids at 5 that Santa didn't exist and the Tooth Fairy didn't exist and kind of what happens when you die. Because when I asked my grandfather I was 4, I asked what happened when you die. And he gave me material to read on the process of putrefaction. So naturally I told other little kids about what happens when you die and how babies are made. Lots of things that 5-year-olds probably shouldn't know yet. But I told them, and they especially shouldn't have heard it from me. But, oh well.
Oh well. And now you're the spoiler for fantasy baseball players everywhere. So
yeah, I'm essentially the same as I am when I was 5. Some real personal growth there, Dan.
Now, moving over to the AL East, if Boston doesn't re-sign Craig Kimbrell, and they've also lost Joe Kelly, are they treading dangerously in their bullpen?
I think it is a little tricky. I don't think their bullpen was as deep as they would have liked, possibly. And you kind of saw that a little in the playoffs. At the top of it was, pretty solid, even if Kimbrel is not Braves Kimbrel anymore. I think they will make signings. I would be a little bit concerned if they don't. I know they've made some noise like, oh, we don't have to sign anybody. We'll be okay. We like our guys. But, every team says that during the winter when their free agents have left and they haven't signed anybody yet. I don't really think they're going to go into the season with the bullpen they have now. I just don't think that it's going to happen. I mean, you look at who would the closer be? Are they really going to have Ryan Brazier as the closer? They really trust him that much going into the season? Because they're a competitive team, so they need to be a little more risk averse than, say, a rebuilding team.
No, I agree, Matt Barnes. Unless they're unless they're expecting Tyler Thornburg to finally come back to health. But I think they're just posturing, waiting for Kimbrel's price to come down. I think he'll be back there.
Yeah, there's a lot of posturing this time of year. It's my stupid phone's ringing. Sorry. A lot of what you hear now is just posturing and nonsense and the like. So we'll see. You don't really trust anything until you actually see the roster in March and April. NL Central. Would you say it's still between the Cardinals, Cubs, and Brewers? Yeah, I still think that's the top three that's going in. I know the Reds have this idea that they're close. I don't think they're as close as they think they are. I think they still need some serious pitching. They need to have a Dallas Keuchel, or they need to trade for Corey Kluber. I don't think that the pitching that they've acquired is really enough. And one of the problems is their additions have been very short term. They're 1 year signings. Yasiel Puig, he'll be fine, but Matt Kemp probably shouldn't be starting, and he probably will. And Alex. Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I got you. And I lost you at Alex, and I know that the second word is wood.
Or was it? No, Alex Wood and I've lost the train of thought has gone off the station. Alex Wood and Tanner Roark are solid pitchers to have, but I think the Reds need more than that. And we'll see if they get more than that.
Okay, and so, oh man, I'm sorry, and my phone just went off like with a text, and it blew my train of thought off. But speaking of Dallas Keuchel, to me, I felt he was the best free agent starter available. Maybe not for 5 years, but I felt he was the guy to sign. And when the Yankees were supposedly going all in on Corbin, I'm thinking to myself, no, Keuchel is your guy. Where do you think Keuchel might end up?
Your guess is as good as mine at this point. He's been talked about a lot of places. I haven't seen a lot of anything that's really solid other than the usual, background rumors. So he can pretty much go anywhere. He's not going to demand a $200 million contract, and he wouldn't get a $200 million contract. I can see him going to Philadelphia. I can see him going to Cincinnati if they're smart. I can see a team like the Padres going after him. There's a lot of teams that could use, a decent number 2 starter.
Do you think Dallas Keuchel would have been a perfect addition for the Yankees?
I think he would have been. To see him in New York. Not personally, simply because, I'm an Orioles fan, not a Yankees fan. But I think he would have been a good fit. But it's hard to tell how much money teams really want to spend. They're all like, oh, we don't have any money. We have to replace there's a flood in the root cellar. Need money for that and got to fix that well. But I think at this point you have a pretty much set rotation with Severino, Paxton, Tanaka, Happ, and Sabathia. So I don't see them adding Keuchel now.
Right. I mean, a lot of people look at that rotation, and obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, so a lot of people look at that rotation and say, "Oh yeah, we're set now. We're good." I look at that rotation as extremely fragile. I mean, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop for Severino. I think his arm is starting to go, and I think it stems to him going like in 2017. And I think that affected him in the second half. Maybe, his velocity was there, but I think his command wasn't. I think, and I was just like, that was like my worry all year long was, that like 50 plus inning jump from 2016.
Lasagna or Domingo Herman or Chance Adams or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, even, listen, James Paxton, he's got great stuff, but, he's also fragile, and last year was his major league high in innings, 116 innings, and he too made a trip to the DL. Tanaka, I don't see any kind of stability there. I don't see any kind of track record, that you can count on.
There's definitely some risk in there, but I think at this point it's hard to add Keuchel because then you're going to, boot someone you've already signed out of the rotation, which probably isn't going to happen. I can't see Sabathia being as effective in relief. They're not going to boot any of the other four. So if they do make an additional pitching addition, it'll probably be someone who's more of a low-key type that can play a swing role, that can in a way be like the version of Brad Peacock that the Astros have, who is comfortable pitching in multiple roles. But I think Keuchel's probably out at this point for them.
If you were a GM of another team, would you be interested in Sonny Gray?
I think if I'm a rebuilding team and I kind of much risk as Sonny Gray presents, so it's really hard for a contender to pick him up. But if I'm a team like, say, the Padres, who could use someone that could eat some innings and could flip him, then I have some interest in Sonny Gray. I'm not going to pay a lot for Sonny Gray because there is, as I said, a sizable amount of risk involved. But I think a team in that position ought to have more interest in Sonny Gray than a contender.
Okay, and so
after all, if you could count on Sonny Gray, the Yankees would just keep him as the alternate sixth starter.
Of course, and you know what? And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to do, and as well as again have him come out of the pen early. When someone's getting hit or a pitch count is getting up. I don't see that as the worst thing in the world. I still think he can, what's the word? I still think they can work him into pitching in New York. Just ease up a little, on the expectations. And I've also, read a lot of analysis. And if that is the case, and then the analysis shows that that's where he was successful and he's not pitching off his fastball anymore, I'm curious why they're not going back to it. But
I mean,
you're fading in and out.
Oh, you were fading in and out. I don't know whose side it is.
Wow. So, all right. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take off my, let me take off my Bluetooth and see if that works. Okay. Now I'm directly on the phone.
Okay. I still hear you. Well, do you hear me?
Okay. I hear you. So
Okay, that's good. Maybe in some people's eyes. Sometimes it might not be.
Yeah. So tell me something. Who do you think? Is there any one team that you think so far is winning the winter?
It's a little tricky. I mean, the Mets have done a good job, but as I said, they also have been a little scattershot. So it's hard to say they have, but it seems like there's still a lot more to be done. I love what the Brewers did by getting Grandal for a 1-year contract with an option. That's a real coup. I think I'm still in wait and see. I don't want to crown anybody the best yet. But I mean, a lot of teams have made moves. There just hasn't been one team that's made really a ton of moves yet. I mean, if you really like the Reds more than I do, you can say that they've won the winter maybe, but I don't like them as much as some people. I don't think they've done enough to really put them in that contention zone. So I'm going to say it incomplete for now. We'll talk. I'll crown someone when we talk in like April.
Okay. Now, I'm going to slide over real quick to the Hall of Fame. And so who was, I mean, I know you don't have a vote yet. You're getting close to that, aren't you?
I still got several years to go. You need 10, and the first internet gang that was admitted to the WWII is just getting their votes this year. You know, Keith Law, Christina Carl. If he had stayed in the BBWA the whole time, it'd be Rob Nyer too. It was 10 years ago when they started allowing internet people to enter the association, not just people that wrote for newspapers and that kind of media. So I still have a ways to go. I'll get to vote on A-Rod if he's not already inducted, and he probably won't be. So, but I think some of the controversial ones remaining, I'm never going to get to vote on. Schilling's going to come off before I vote. Mike Messina is. Andrew Jones probably won't be close enough to be interesting. Bonds and Clemens will be off. So we'll see when I vote.
Okay, so if you had a vote this year, do you have 10? Are you picking 10 players, or are you limiting it? And who are they?
If I could choose, I'd probably pick about 17 players. It's a real mess in the Hall of Fame has right now. I think what it comes down to is this year I'd probably have to game my ballot again, because as I see it, any vote over 75% is a wasted vote in a way, because you don't get any additional plaudit for how many votes you get above 75%. And the problem is when you have so many guys you need to vote for, voting for a guy who's a slam dunk feels just kind of like a waste to me. I think Mariano Rivera is an obvious Hall of Famer, but I also don't think he would need my vote. And the same goes really for Roy Halladay at this point. He's so far over the threshold that it's hard for me to throw a vote his way. I'd prioritize players whose quest for 75% is a little unknown, which means, Mike Messina, probably Edgar, although he's got enough votes in the tallying he's probably over the edge. But if you like Messina and Schilling, probably Bonds and Clemens because they've been creeping up, and then a lot of the 5% guys that should be considered that aren't going to be. Roland's probably over that, but I'd definitely throw in a vote for Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent. He wouldn't get my vote in the end, but I'd at least look at Lance Berkman. I think people are too dismissive of him. I don't think he's any worse a candidate than Jim Rice was. I vote for Billy Wagner, Sammy Sosa, Gary Sheffield, and then the last few votes I'd have to figure out who most gets the benefit of an additional vote, probably like Larry Walker or someone.
But it's say Walker. So you know what? Let me tell you something. I foresee you getting slammed in social media in the future for not voting for the slam dunks. They're gonna but it's okay. I'm sure you got thick skin. I'm sure you can take it.
At this point, I'll get slammed for something, so I don't mind. I am kind of glad that I'm not voting this year, because I would get slammed for not voting for Mariano Rivera. But as I see it, it's not really my fault if I didn't vote for Rivera this year. It would kind of be the Hall of Fame's fault for leaving such a mess and having such little interest in sorting out the giant logjam mess that they've created with both suddenly changing the rules by reducing it from 15 to 10 arbitrarily, 15 years to 10 years, by their mixed signals with some of the steroid guys, and their refusal to go over 10, even though the writers overwhelmingly want that. So it's kind of the Hall of Fame's mess.
Right. I get it.
That's how you pass the buck.
Oh, well, I can't. You know what, Dan? I can't wait. So don't worry.
I just want Mussina to get it. I really want Mussina.
No matter how much they kill you, you'll always still be welcome on the show.
I appreciate it. But I really want Mike Mussina to get in this year. If Mussina gets in this year, I will see about traveling to Cooperstown again. I haven't been there in over 10 years. But I think as long as it worked with my schedule, I would definitely travel to see Mike Mussina get inducted.
Oh, yeah, well, that's right, of course. And that makes sense. So,
I hope he doesn't go in as a Yankee. I'm sorry.
Wow,
I wanted to go in as an Oriole.
Yeah. Now, if he goes in as a Yankee, will you still go?
I'd still go, yeah, because he's still Mike Mussina. It's not his fault, or it's not really a fault of anything. I just prefer to see him as an Oriole. I mean, he did have his best WAR seasons as an Oriole, except for like 2001, I think. Was it 2001? I don't remember. But I do want to see Moose get into the Hall, so we'll see.
Okay, Dan, I appreciate you coming on. And I hope we don't have such a gap as we did this time around. So let's see, we're in. So yeah, actually, maybe like we'll look at the middle of spring training. We'll get you back on here. And,
yeah,
and
it's always fun.
Rosters will be sorted out, and we'll have a little more insight to the season, hopefully.
Hopefully, Manny Machado and Bryce Harper will be signed at that point.
And yeah, I would think so. But nothing surprises me anymore. So anyway, Dan, you have a great weekend, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, enjoy the snow, Wayne.
Oh yes, I know. I'm putting my boots on now. Take it easy, Dan. Have a good day. Okay, folks, that wraps up our show. Sorry about the little fade-ins and outs for the audio, but I think you'll be able to get the gist of everything, and you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.